When was the last time you saw it? What's your...
However long ago I did it.
Right. Wow. Any thoughts when reviewing it? Any emotions that came over for you?
No.
No? Wow. Wow. How did you end up getting cast in this film? Was it Marion Doherty? I noticed that.
No.
How did you? What happened with this movie?
It was Bob Fosse. I don't even think I met Marion until after I already had the part.
Okay.
I met with Bobby, and I did a screen test, and I got the part.
Wow. And you had some similarities with Honey. You'd been a dancer, and so how did that was that the reason Fosse cast you? Did you do it? What was the?
No, and the big thing was, having Bob Fosse direct me in some sort of dance movement, or, you'd think, oh boy, I'm going to do something really great. And Fosse kept saying to me, you can't do this well, because she wasn't a good dancer. So that was really disappointing. Here I was being directed by Bob Fosse, and I had to look bad.
Well, that was funny when I watched it tonight. That was the thing going through my mind when I saw you, when you were introduced as on stage there. I was like, is Fosse choreographing this, or is he just letting you do what you usually did?
No, he choreographed it. And first he tried to choreograph it off beat, so that I would be, and I kept getting it right every time. So
now, you met a lot of the real people involved, didn't you? You met Honey Bruce and Sally Marr. How was that?
Sally Marr was quite a character, just like in the movie. And Honey was very sweet and very nice. I met her after we had started shooting. And Kitty, I got along real well with Kitty. She was a sweetheart.
And when you came, obviously Dustin Hoffman was probably already cast, correct?
Yes.
So.
I did the screen test with Dustin.
Oh, wow. Wow. How was it working with him? Did you?
Oh, I loved him.
Yeah.
He was great.
Right.
Gave me all kinds of advice, and he was right.
Now, how much of the movie is improvised? It feels so lived in.
Not 1 second.
Wow, really? Really? As a screenwriter, I'm glad to hear that. But when you watch the movie, it totally feels like the scenes feel so lived in. What about the interview sections? That's Fosse's voice, correct?
Yes, and scripted.
Wow. Wow. I've read somewhere where there was extensive rehearsals though on this movie. Did you guys? So you worked everything out before you got? Was it shot in Miami? Was that where it was, or where were you guys?
We shot We shot in Miami. We shot in New York City, and we shot in Los Angeles.
What was the rehearsal process like? Did you guys just get together and work out scenes, or do you?
I'm not very good at rehearsing. I'm better at just going and onto the set and doing it.
Right. Wow. Wow. I brought up Marion Doherty earlier because Marion was I just noticed this morning when I was looking over your credits, she cast, I think, your first 3 or 4 films. She cast Slaughterhouse, she cast Last American Hero, and she cast this. How did you?
She cast Last American Hero?
Yeah. I didn't know that either, and I was like, wow.
I'll be darned.
So how did you, because you weren't necessarily an actress, you were a Las Vegas dancer for many, many years, correct?
Showgirl, yeah.
Yeah. How did you make that transition to becoming an actor?
I have no idea.
Wow. So I'm assuming that your first, even though your IMDb page says like Diamonds Are Forever, you're in Diamonds Are Forever, but I don't think that's correct.
No, I'm not in Diamonds Are Forever. That is not me.
But so Slaughterhouse 5. How did you remember how you got cast in Slaughterhouse 5 at all? Or?
Yes. I was at a girlfriend's house. She was giving a little dinner party, and an agent came, and I'd been on the phone in the other room talking to a boyfriend of mine in San Francisco and really laying it on him, being funny and whatever. being whatever. I guess I was being Montana Wild Hack is what I was being.
Wow.
And he asked me if I'd ever acted, and I said no. And he asked me if I could, and I said yes. And he gave a picture. He asked me if I had a picture, and the only picture I had was as me as a topless showgirl in Las Vegas in a little G-string, and there was a bra, but there was no center to it. It was just the metal and the beads and everything. And so they asked me to do a screen test with Paul Monash, the producer, and to wear a bikini because they wanted to see my body. And I'd just come back from the south of France, and the beaches were topless there, so I didn't have a bikini, so I wore my Vegas costume. And George Roy Hill saw the audition and said I was the only one of all the girls he saw that had no idea I had boobies at all. It was just, I was completely oblivious to that being sexy, or I just stood there and did my dialogue. And I wasn't very good. I know Monique James said later that they burned my, I don't believe it, but she said they were going to burn my audition tape. It was that bad.
Could have been too bad. You got the part.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Well, it's funny you talk about your sense of freedom on that is one of the things I think it runs through all your performances. There's a naturalism. You don't maybe it's because you didn't train as an actress. You were there's an honesty to what you're doing. You're just sort of being I wouldn't say being yourself because you've done wildly different things, but there's a sense of you're just being honest on screen.
I just try to be real. I mean, I put myself in that situation, whatever it is, and just be there. I don't know how I do it. I have no idea. I could never teach.
Right. And while we're on Slaughterhouse 5, what was it like working with George Roy Hill?
Oh, I loved him. He was great. We had a lot of fun. We laughed a lot. I laughed a lot with Fosse, too, on Lenny. We laughed, playing jokes, lots of jokes.
Right. What kind of jokes would you play on? I heard you played pranks on Dustin Hoffman. I read that in the paper the other day. What kind of pranks were they?
Well, what was it? It was
I heard something about that.
No, this is another story.
Right.
It was Valentine's Day, and we were going to shoot the strip scene. And the costume was very tiny in front. I don't know if I should tell this story in front of all you people. I'm suddenly embarrassed.
They're all friends here.
I'm embarrassed. Well, I made it into the shape of a heart instead of what they do today, however, whatever that thing is. So, and when Bobby came, I called for him and told him I wanted him to come to my trailer. And when he knocked on the door and I opened the door and all I had on was the G-string and I said, I have a heart on for you. That's the kind of jokes. And then Dustin and I were mooning each other. We each had our own car, and we were mooning each other on Collins Boulevard, Florida. And Bobby came to the set one day and said that somebody, like the sheriff or something, was complaining about us sticking our naked butts out, so we couldn't do that anymore.
Just like the film, you guys were being, hassled by the man. And also, the story in the paper was that you knew that Dustin was really upset about people confusing. What did you do?
Well, it was the cafeteria scene, and I got off the set first, and there were all these people, mostly retired folks, standing around waiting for Dustin. And I knew that Dustin didn't like to be called, they confused him a lot with Bobby De Niro and the other one.
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino. And So I went out and said to the people waiting to say hello to Dustin, I said, okay, this half of the crowd, I want you to yell, Pacino, Al Pacino, Al Pacino. And this half of the crowd, I want you to yell,
Bobby De Niro.
Bobby De Niro. Why do I keep forgetting his name? Bobby De Niro. And by God, every one of them did it. When he came out, there were all these screams for De Niro and Bobby, and so Dustin just took his script and threw it down on the ground and said, "Where the fuck is Valerie?"
Now, when you read books about Bob Fosse, it feels like he's actually sort of working a lot of his own issues out in this movie, where because he was a born performer and he couldn't get off the stage. Did you get a sense of that a lot of these
No.
things were, no, not at all?
No.
Right. Okay. Was the screenwriter around? Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he was a part of the process?
Yeah.
Right,
He was great.
right. Now, when you made Slaughterhouse 5, did you meet Kurt Vonnegut?
I met Kurt, I think later on. I moved to New York for a while, and I think I met him at Elaine's. I don't think I met him through the movie.
Right. Do you know what there's been a lot of movies based on his works, and I think this is actually the only good one. I'm a huge Vonnegut fan, but this is the only film that I actually think holds up to his prose. What do you think of the film? Do you know?
I think that he would agree with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I read Slaughterhouse 5 when I was in college, and I didn't think they could ever make it into a movie. And George Roy Hill did it. He was a very, very talented man.
Right. Yeah. After Lenny, you made a biography of another famous comic. You made W.C. Fields and Me. What was that like? What was it like working on that film? You played Carla Monti.
He was a real jerk.
Steiger?
Oh. The first and only really horrible experience I ever had making a movie. He just was not a happy man. He was just full of hate for everything.
Wow.
He wouldn't do, a lot of the time he wouldn't do the reverse shot, my close-ups, and he's supposed to stand next to the camera and feed me my dialogue, and he wouldn't do it. The director had to stand there and give me my dialogue they'd hold something up with a little white dot on it, and that was supposed to be Rod. I didn't mind. I was better off without him.
Wow. That's hysterical. Did you do much research? Was Carlotta alive then too, or I'm not sure. But did you meet the real Carlotta? No, you don't remember?
I don't know.
Okay. And in my intro today, I talked about the influence that steam bath had on me. What can you talk about?
I
steam
want to
bath?
apologize. I have tremors.
Yeah.
So if it sounds, I'm not trying to.
You're not shaking them around. You're
No.
Fine. You're fine. Can you talk about making a steam bath? How did you wind up in steam bath?
Monique James. I had already done Slaughterhouse 5, and she knew my attitude towards being topless, and I was probably the only actress on the lot that could care less, and that's what the character needed to be like that.
The sense of comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
Did you get that from being in Vegas for so many years, or were you just always comfortable in your body?
Well, Vegas, and then after Vegas, I went to Europe for a while, and all the beaches in Saint-Tropez were topless, or most of the beaches, or some of well, there was one topless beach.
And you found it.
And I found it, and when you're running around on a beach with nothing on but a G-string, it releases you.
What was funny about steam bath was that it was, I think, the first time nudity was allowed on American television, and PBS ran that into the ground. Every time they had a pledge season or whatever, they would run steam bath. I think you raised more money for public television than anybody on the planet Earth. More than Big Bird. You took care of that. Took care of them for 10 years. Probably your biggest success was the Superman films.
Oh, yeah.
How did you end up in? Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That was fun to make. Most of the pictures I've ever done were fun to make,
right.
except Rod Steiger. What a jerk.
Well, Rod Steiger's one of those guys you can't say, oh, he seems like such a nice guy. Rod Steiger's a jerk, I believe you.
You think he seems like a nice guy?
No, not at all. I'm being sarcastic. He seems like a horrible human being.
Oh, okay.
But Superman, talk about the making of Superman. Because that movie, both 1 and 2 were kind of shot at the same time, weren't
time,
they?
yeah.
How did that work? Did you know there were going to be 2 films, or was
Yes.
it the Salkins just...
No, it was called the Salkin Clause in our contract because they had done another movie and not let the actors know they were making 2 films, and they got sued because
Right.
the actors only got paid for 1 film. But this time, they had to be honest about it.
Right, those are 3 and 4 Musketeers, right? I
Yes.
forgot about that. They had to pay them double their salary because they got fooled into making...
Yes.
Yeah. But now, this is one of those things I've never quite understood, because Richard Donner directed Superman, but then Richard Lester directed Superman 2. Were you directed by both guys, or
No.
it was just Richard Donner, or?
Just Donner.
Right. I've
It
never...
was wonderful.
Wow. I hesitate to bring it up, but it's also one of those most fascinating movies, I think, when you actually watch it, is Can't
No.
Stop the Music.
I knew it.
Can't
I
Stop
knew
the
it.
Music. Which is Alan Carr's huge Village People disco extravaganza. How did
Ruined my
you
career.
ruin your career? Yeah.
I moved to Europe afterwards. I was so embarrassed. I did. I really did.
Well, that was also one of those weird things, too, where it wasn't just making the movie. For some reason, Alan Carr had you guys on like a global tour, releasing it in every country, correct? You had to promote that movie all around the world.
Everywhere. Wouldn't you know, it couldn't have been Lenny. No, it had to be Can't Stop the Music.
Now, did you know when you were making it, or it was only after the fact? And when did you get the sense that, wait a second, I'm making Can't Stop the Music?
One day, poor Bruce had never acted.
Bruce Jenner.
Yeah. And we were about to walk through a door during a take with the camera on us, and I was trying to get Bruce relaxed before he came through the door so he would sound real. And I was talking to him before our scene started, and all of a sudden I heard Nancy yell out for ruining the set because I was talking during a take. And she was looking the wrong direction, and she didn't know the camera was on me.
Oh, wow.
She thought the camera was somewhere else, and she thought I was talking during a take rather than acting.
She's talking about Nancy Walker, who was
Yeah.
the director of the film.
Yeah.
You know, which is always one of those baffling moments. I've never quite understood how Nancy Walker...
Quicker picker-upper. Well, it's very simple. Alan Carr managed her, so everything he paid her, he got 20% back.
Always a good reason for hiring a director.
Yeah.
Is the kickbacks involved.
Yeah.
And how were the Village People? What were those guys
Oh,
like?
they were wonderful.
Right.
They were so sweet. They were really good boys. I'm still friendly with some of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The Indian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Philippe Rose, I believe
Yeah.
is the correct name. See, I know the Indian's name. And you made another film right for that I'm a huge fan of, which is the Tony Richardson film with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, right.
Right. What was
The Border.
The Border. Some Border fans.
Thank you.
Can you talk about working with Nicholson?
Nicholson had a bad back, and at the time I didn't understand bad backs, but since then I've had back surgery and been in constant pain ever since. And I didn't sympathize with him a lot, and I can't wait to see him again because I thought he was just being a spoiled actor because he wanted to have a helicopter drive him to the location because it was too far for him to be in the car. And believe me, I would do the same thing as he did today because back pain is horrible.
I'm going to open it up out here. You have a question right there, sir?
Two things. First of all, you mentioned Nancy Walker directing Can't Stop the Music from her commercials, the quicker picker-upper. Isn't it ironic that during Lenny, we had Jan Miner, who was the Palmolive Madge.
Yes.
Right, wow.
The question I want to ask you, though, was that after Superman, how many times when people recognized you would they yell, Miss Teschmacher?
I still get it. I still get yeah.
Well, it's funny, even when we posted the event on Facebook, I would say the first 10 people who posted that was, Miss Teschmacher! That's all they would write. It was anybody else over here? Right there, Jeff.
I find it extremely ironic that Rod Steiger was not polite enough to act with you for reverse shots. That's because of all the things that he has complained about. He has repeatedly referred to Marlon Brando not doing the same thing for him during the taxi cab scene.
Oh.
On the waterfront. Brando had to, I think, visit a psychiatrist late in the afternoon.
Could you repeat the question?
Complained about Brando, and it's just very ironic that he did the same thing to you.
Well, he did something else. George was on the lot doing The Sting, I think, and I was there doing what's the movie I did with Rod?
W.C. Fields and Me.
W.C. Fields and Me. And I went over to George's office one day and I said, it's the strangest thing. When I'm acting with Rod, I feel weird. Something's wrong. And he started talking to me and he's saying, is this what you got? And I said, yes. He never looked in my face. He looked at my ear to deliberately throw me off.
Wow.
That's what kind of actor he was.
Wow.
Try talking to somebody and looking at their ear, or have somebody do it to you. It's very strange. You think you're going cross-eyed or something.
Also, I would say one of the great things about you during the 1970s was this, in the sense that you were one of the great interviews of all time. Whether it was Merv Griffin or whatever. I remember reading the Rex Reed interviews with you, because you seemed, once again, what was great about you was the fact that there was no wall.
No.
You did things in these interviews. I mean, I read this interview with Rex Reed where you're just taking hash brownies, and
Yeah.
there was your publicist today would kill you for doing things like
Does
that.
anybody have any?
Woo! I'm sure there's people have a card. They could run across the street and buy some for us. Yes, right there.
You did another little underrated movie that you worked on that you played opposite Robert Redford in, briefly anyway, in Electric Horseman.
Oh.
No?
Oh, Robert Redford, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, never mind, I got him confused with somebody else. What boy is that?
What was the question?
The question is, talk about working with Robert Redford on Electric Horseman.
Well, I mean, that's Robert Redford. He was great. He would never be on the set. I mean, we didn't need to rehearse or anything. It was an easy thing. And he would never be on the set until the last minute, and the director would be going crazy, saying, where's Bob? Where's Bob? And Bob would be out doing whatever he wanted to do. And he knew the business so well. He knew exactly when he would really be needed. And that's when he'd show up. Because, they have actors come onto the set so early. You don't need to be around there. You can be doing something much better, like learning your lines. But if you can.
It was funny. There's actually a book. I forget the name of the book, but it's written by the great AD in the 1970s, and he talks about being the AD for Sidney Pollack, and working with Redford on The Way We Were, and both him and Streisand would refuse to come to the set before the other person was already there. So he had to always go to this Redford saying, Streisand's waiting for you, and he'd go to Streisand, Redford's waiting. And it was this game, and somebody would show up and they wouldn't be there, they'd go back to their trailer, and it was just, the entire day would be spent trying to get these two people to actually be there. They weren't doing anything else, they were just hanging out. That's over there.
Did you ever see Lenny perform, Lenny Bruce?
Did you ever see Lenny Bruce perform?
No.
Yeah.
Right there.
Did you ever turn down any roles that you regretted?
Did you ever turn down any roles that you regretted?
Oh, I can't remember the name of the film.
You can't regret it too much if you...
No, it was a huge hit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What was it, Stacy? Do you remember?
Who was in it?
I can't remember her name either.
Tell us the plot.
Well, she wasn't as good as you.
It was sexy. It was, and that's why I turned it down. I didn't want to do another film that had to do with sex.
Right.
Postman always rings twice?
No. I'll think of it
Okay.
before.
Now you were also a person who bounced back and forth between comedy and drama. I mean, was there one that you preferred more than the other?
No.
No? Just went to whatever appealed. How did you pick projects? Did you just on a whim, or did the things that appealed to you, or what made you decide to do things?
The money.
The money. That's an excellent reason. That's an excellent reason. There's someone right over there, sorry.
I met Sally Barr a few times, and I'm curious, did you ever talk to her after the movie came out, or she was a very colorful person.
Did you
Yes.
talk to Sally Marr after the film came out? What'd you think? What was her thoughts?
She was very colorful, much more so than she was depicted in the film, I think. She was quite a character.
Did she think that it was accurate, or?
We didn't talk about the film. I just saw her at a party.
Right.
You know, I didn't really get to know her.
Right there?
Body Heat, Kathleen Turner.
Body
That's
heat.
it.
Wow. Turned on Body Heat. I want to go watch Body Heat and picture you in Body Heat. You'd be fantastic in that movie. How about anyone? I thought there was someone else over there. Way in the back, sorry. Yes, you.
You gave a very compelling performance as Honey. Did you do any research or reading to prepare yourself for that role?
Did you do any research in preparing yourself for the role? No.
No.
The
I'm lazy.
way in the back. You're that was.
Yes, I'd like to know how you feel, having had the most beautiful cover on the cover of Playboy ever in the history of Playboy.
How do you feel about having the most beautiful cover ever in the history of Playboy magazine?
Well, that's very nice to say, but if you remember the cover, it's almost like a cartoon. It's like,
The most beautiful cover.
This woman loves the cover of that Playboy magazine. Actually, there's a picture of you with a cat in the Playboy magazine. That's my favorite picture of you. I love that picture of you and the cat. I'm a crazy person. Right there, you.
What do you remember about the reaction and response to the movie at the time when it came out?
What do you remember about the reaction to that Lenny had when it came out?
I guess, it wasn't about the film. It was about suddenly how famous I was. That was,
Right.
wow.
Were you at the Cannes Film Festival?
No, I was working with Rod.
Oh, wow. Wow. No wonder. You get Best Actress, you're not there, you're stuck with this horrible human being.
No, and I'll tell you what he did. They called me up and told me I'd won the Cannes Film Festival, and then I went to work, and I came on the set, and I was literally jumping up and down, saying, I won the Cannes Film Festival, I won. He said, I won, and he proceeded to say all the things that he had won, how long he'd been in the business. Just took my little bubble and squished it like a bug.
Fuck Rod
Asshole.
Steiger. Fuck him. Lenny Bruce let us say it. That's right there, sir. You?
Excellent performances by you and also Dustin Hoffman. Were you nominated for Oscar? You should have been.
Yes, she was nominated for Best Actress.
So,
And so was Dustin.
So was Dustin.
oh, okay, that's how
Yes. Right there.
Yeah, what was it like playing the female cop in Cannonball Run?
What was it like playing the female cop in Cannonball Run?
The whole point of the bit was a cop comes up to give me a ticket, and I'm going to pretend that I think it's a man that's coming up, and so I try to push myself up and look real busty, thinking I'll talk myself out of the ticket, And all I had to do was, what was her name?
No, it's the other way around.
No, she had a huge...
It's the other way around. You're the cop.
I was not the cop, I was driving, wasn't I? Really? Never mind.
Now, you worked actually with another female director named Nancy. You worked with Nancy Myers. didn't
Yes.
you? How was that?
That
you
was
did
great.
What Women Want? Was that?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So that was better than Nancy Walker.
Oh, yes.
A little bit, or?
A lot. A lot.
All right. We got time for just a couple more. Yes, right there.
I was working with Jeff Bridges.
Oh, Jeff Bridges. That's one of my favorite movies, Last American Hero.
I fell in crush with him.
Oh.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. He plays the guitar and sings, and we would get together, a whole bunch of us, after the shoot, and sing songs. Well, I didn't sing, but they would sing songs, and we just had a really good, fun time.
Right. That was directed by Lamont Johnson. Yeah,
Johnson,
he's an
yeah.
excellent director. Sort of forgotten, but all his work is excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been lucky.
Yeah, no, you've worked a lot of really what I guess would be classified as actor directors. I mean, Arthur Hiller and Bob Fosse, Lamont Johnson, George Roy Hill. These are really solid people.
Right.
Wow, it's amazing. Yes, right there, sir.
Valerie, what do you think the key is to surviving Hollywood?
The key to surviving Hollywood.
Don't take it seriously.
Right.
Or get out. I would do a film, and then I'd run off to Europe.
Smart.
Find that one beach. But we got to watch another movie, so we can't talk too long. But let's do a couple more because there's some people right over there, lady on the corner.
Hi, just wondering, have you been in touch with Dustin since you did the film?
Have you been in touch with Dustin since you did the film more recently?
I went to see him doing a play on Broadway. I can't remember the name of the play. Shakespeare. And it was so cute because I went backstage, of course, afterwards to say hello and blah, blah, blah. And the next day it was written up in all the newspapers. He'd obviously had his publicity agent call and put my name in all the papers, which I thought was cute.
Yeah, that's sweet. Anybody else? Way in the back one more time, yes.
You've had really a great career. There's been a lot of great events and pranks and so on. But is there just one event that happened during that, personal to you, that you really liked? Be something like the little dog in the scene, or something that really appeals to you in life?
Was there any personal thing about your career that you did that you just hold dear to yourself, a personal event that rather vague question, but yeah, it's hard to answer.
Not one.
Not
Just
one.
too many things.
Right. And definitely not tonight. This is way down on your list. All right, everyone, Valerie Perrine, thank you so much for coming. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to watch Slaughterhouse 5. Please stick around. It was great. Thank you.